So when I do lead gen for PMax, I tend to run broad match search, again, with all the exclusions in. That works quite well. However, with the search, I find it's a lot more expensive. The CPAs are a lot higher. The lead qualities are a little bit better.
All right, welcome everyone back to the PPC Mastery Podcast. Today I am joined by Ramial Aqeel. He's a member of the PPC Hub, actually one of the most active members. I recently became a mod as well, which we're super happy with. And Ramial is someone who, well, as I said, is super active in the PPC Hub, is always sharing case studies, super willing to help other people in the PPC Hub, and is someone who I have seen that has a tremendous desire to grow and learn and also pass that on to others. So luckily, he was able to come on the show today. So welcome, Ramial. I want to talk to you about some of your, I want to talk to you about some of the case studies that you've shared in the PPC Hub, because I think you have a cool approach to driving results. But before we do that, maybe in a few lines, just explain maybe a little bit to how you got started in the Google Ads industry and where you are now in your career.
Sounds good. Hi, Miles. Okay, so I started back in 2018 after uni. I actually graduated in web, and my initial plan was to go down the web route, but I really hated the coding side, just stopped enjoying it. So then there was an agency that took a chance on me. They mainly worked with small businesses. So I started there as a PPC assistant, mainly doing builds and ad hoc stuff. Some of the budgets were tiny. Like, we're talking £5 a day. Like really small businesses. But you know what? A lot harder to get results when it's so small. So that actually made me a lot stronger, a lot quicker. Started there, then sort of worked out a range of different agencies, bigger budgets, bigger projects, did some contracts, and then actually in the first lockdown, decided I want to go self-employed and just went for it. And yeah, man, haven't looked back since. And joined the PPC Hub a year ago, and onwards and upwards.
Yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely. So before we go into all those case studies, I want to ask you, what is something that you believe about Google Ads that most people would disagree with?
Yeah, so this is actually in one of my case studies. So PMax for lead gen, a lot of noise around it. People hate it, right? They don't want to do it for lead gen. It's all about shopping. And to some extent, I agree. However, I've genuinely been able to drive results, lead gen PMax. And my strategy around that has been, focusing more on the cold audiences, getting large volume in, and basically going through those leads and finding the ones that work. I don't think it's something that, we can explicitly say it doesn't work and you shouldn't try it. And I think even you guys have posted content on it, the 𝗲𝗏 structure. So that'd be the key one for me.
Nice one. Yeah, I think that's probably going to make some people cringe. And some people are going to be like, yeah, it works for me as well.
The real estate one, which we'll get into, all PMax lead gen.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's a direction that I didn't intend to go right now, but let's do it, man. Since you mentioned that PMax for lead gen is such a good weapon for your accounts, maybe take one quick step back and what does your client portfolio look like? So what kind of clients do you work with? Is it all lead gen?
I'm largely a generalist, so it is majority lead gen. I'd say 60% lead gen and the rest is sort of e-commerce. Generally do work with smaller businesses, so I'd say majority of the portfolio is your small businesses, but then I do work with a few larger clients as well. And I actually enjoy that because it allows me to, as much as I believe in having a niche specialism, doing it this way does allow me to be involved in different types of projects and face different types of challenges, which I believe makes me stronger. But yeah, if I had to pick, I would say lead gen.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's fun. It's fun to have different challenges as well, right?
100%.
So you mentioned the real estate case. Let's dive into that. From what I have seen in the PPC Hub, you shared that you helped a real estate agent get back to profit. Could you just maybe explain a bit about the background and the context of this client and what you did for them to help them get back to being profitable?
Yeah, so we go back quite a few years, and I worked with them a while ago, and we sort of reconnected after he had worked with a range of different specialists. And when I took over the account, they had, 20, 30 campaigns on quite a low spend, about 2-3K. They were still using broad much modified, which is nuts, right? So main thing we did was, first and foremost, developed a new website. I'm all about landing pages, and I always love looking at what happens after the click, what happens outside of Google Ads. New website, consolidated those campaigns. But actually, when we first ran the consolidated search, it was quite expensive for a lead. It was still profitable, but the volume wasn't there. And in this sort of field, the client converts about 1 in 20 to 1 in 25 leads, which is really low, but their average order value is tens of thousands. So it's worth it in essence. So yeah, I think with the search, it was quite expensive. And then we experimented with Performance Max. We had a cold audience and a warm audience. Basically trying to just capture a lot of the upper funnel leads. So for context, a real estate client is a little bit like we buy any car, but they buy any home. So they were just looking for a lot of leads for people who were sort of desperate to sell their home, fast cash sale sort of stuff. So yeah, getting a lot of those upper funnel leads, and 90% of them went great. However, they were more qualified deals from that large volume coming from PMax as compared to the search campaign, which was only getting maybe 10 leads at like £100 CPA, but none of them were converting. So that worked out really well. And I think to this day, we still run with that strategy, and majority of the spend does go into PMax, and it's all a volume game. And I think it is case by case with some clients. Genuinely, I do think large volume works better.
Yeah, interesting. So with PMax, a lot of people say that, especially for lead gen, that the biggest issue or the biggest challenge is low lead quality. And is your way of dealing with that is just basically just pushing more volume and playing the numbers game, so that you know that even though you might get a percentage of low quality leads, that there's also a lot of qualified leads in there, just volume wise?
Yeah, I think try and find a fine balance as well. It is certainly a volume game with the PMax lead gen. However, equally important to have the right exclusions in place. Make sure your targeting is exactly how you want it, and minimizing that waste. Otherwise, you're only going to get low quality leads. It's just about finding that balance. But yeah, certainly, I think to answer your question, definitely focusing on the volume, lower cost lead, and finding the odd one in there that actually is worth quite a lot of money for the client.
Yeah. And what does the channel split look like for your PMax for lead gen? Is it primarily search?
Primarily search, a little bit of display.
No video?
No video on this one.
So how do you balance your, are you still running search next to it, or is it just all on PMax?
I am running search next to it. So when I do lead gen for PMax, I tend to run broad match search, again, with all the exclusions in. That works quite well. However, with the search, I find it's a lot more expensive. The CPAs are a lot higher. The lead qualities are a little bit better. However, definitely more expensive. So I have that lead gen really alongside it on PMax to mitigate those costs, bring the overall CPA down. Granted, not all of the leads are qualified. However, the client prefers it this way. He converts 1 in 25. If he gets 20 leads, he might not get a deal that month, which isn't great. So he'd much rather have 100 leads. If 80 of them ain't any good, 1 in 20, he'll still get one deal out of it, and he's happy.
Yeah. What does the conversion tracking look like then for in this case? Is it lots of booked calls or something?
They're form submissions. So customers enter their postcode or zip code and then submit their details. Client then reaches out. And a lot of people are just like, yeah, what's my house worth? They just want like a free valuation. And that goes back to the lower quality lead, right? That's not qualified because they're just researching. But then there's genuinely people in there that say, oh, I've just inherited a property. I need to sell it. I need to sell it this week. What can you do for me? So yeah, finding that balance, I think, has works quite well.
Yeah. Do you use offline conversion tracking as well?
For this client, no, because it is a fairly small client.
Right.
The budget isn't huge, and he's quite old school. If he did have the whole setup, it would be a no-brainer. Yeah. But I think when working with small businesses, it is a case-by-case thing. And unfortunately, sometimes your wings are clipped with how far you can take it.
Yeah. What kind of budgets are you talking about here on a monthly basis?
For this one, it's about 2K.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
So it's relatively small. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's interesting.
Well, you know what? The ROI, given the industry, is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. And especially, I think a lot of people would also advise against PMax with such low budgets, but you showed that you can actually make it work. So case by case, that's always important.
Definitely case by case, and sometimes it doesn't work. But yeah, I always love experimenting.
Yeah,
anything and everything I can, because then it's like, you know, every business is different, goals are different, markets are different. So always best to experiment and see what works.
Yeah, and I can imagine that this client is also happy to have the volume of leads, even though a percentage may not be qualified. Just because it's such a small business, then they have work to do as well, and they can follow up with those leads and try to convert them on their own.
Yeah, he's got a small sales team, so actually he definitely needs the volume.
yeah, exactly. Great.
And actually, with some of those low quality leads as well, it's worth mentioning. Although they're colder leads, they could become warm a little bit later down the line. So the sales cycle can be quite long. So if someone's just asking for a valuation, for instance, back of their mind, they're thinking of selling their house. So actually, they could become a warm lead 6 months later. So yeah, it's about the bigger picture.
Yeah, true. Especially in real estate, like if you play the long game, makes a ton of sense. So that's it for the real estate lead gen client. Is there anything else in this case that is worth mentioning that really had a big impact on the results?
Yeah, I think the landing page and the website, it's interesting because I was once sat with a friend and we were just going through some PPC accounts, and he was like, "Oh, can you look at this one? Can you look at this one? Can you look at this one?" And I was like, "Actually, just show me the landing page first." And he kept asking me, "Why you keep going to the landing page first when I've asked you to look at the account?" And I was like, "It doesn't matter how well you've set up that account. You could have everything. You could master the fundamentals. But if your website or this landing page isn't up for scratch, it's not going to work, or you're limiting yourself, right? Website landing pages are not online shop front. People don't know who these business owners are or what they're like. They're going to judge by the first impression on that page." So I think big key takeaway here was redesigning that platform and aligning it to people's expectations. And that's actually a golden nugget that I do with every single client on every single audit. It's one of the main first key things. Because I wouldn't, if I was looking for a service and I genuinely liked a business, but that website or the landing page just wasn't up to scratch, I wouldn't be able to trust them. And yeah, it might be a younger people's thing or this generation, but yeah, I think it's so important.
Yeah. Hey guys, real quick, if you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything in the future, and feel free to share with a friend, colleague, or family member, because that's the only way we can grow the show. All right, back to the show. And do you create those new landing pages yourself for your clients, or do you have someone working with you, or just you?
I work with a small team, so I tend to lead on strategy, and I want this there, and I want this colors and this branding. I have people that do the work for me, but yeah, that's part of me, my sort of T-shape, and having that expertise on web and landing pages and a little bit of CRO. So I try and implement that in my process throughout.
Yeah, that's nice. So you take your past experience and you just layer it on top of your Google Ads skill set.
My degree would be a waste if I did it.
But it is still in-house, right? Then you're not outsourcing it to. Yeah, no, that's
no, it's in-house. Yeah,
nice.
And I'll use like Unbounce, WordPress, Landing Gear, different types of softwares that work quite well.
Awesome. All right. That's an awesome case study. Let's move on to the next one. You shared that you, one of your bazillion case studies, you shared one where you said that you mentioned that you generated 500K revenue from 30K ad spend for a client. Can you just take us through that case study, but also background of the client and a little bit of context. And then we go into the nitty gritty.
Content is event in hospitality. So have you ever been to a festival?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously at festivals, you have the big camping, accommodation and all of that. These guys specialize in festivals all over UK, and they provide the accommodation to people visiting. And it's not just, it's not just a simple tent. These are like proper accommodations with showers and stuff, which it is a challenge at festivals, right? So it's targeting, I would say, a slightly higher net worth individual. Right. Now, with obviously festival accommodation, it can be quite competitive because some people just stay in at hotels. Some people just, want a simple tent. Some are looking for something a little bit better, but for a low cost. Some people don't want to pay more than the ticket for their accommodation. So there's all the different considerations. With this one, quite challenging because we're talking thousands and thousands for the accommodation for just 2 or 3 nights, but it's luxury. So it's a very, very tailored audience that we're trying to target and capture. Now, it is a seasonal business and there is a spike in demand, which with this client every year, we have to take advantage of. So naturally, we would expect a range of sales. However, I think to get the numbers that we did for this client in the recent year, there was a lot that had to go behind it. And actually, going back previous years, we were running with some of the older strategies. So, breaking things out, exact phrase split, etc. This year, consolidated everything. We put server-side tagging in place. We made the adverts really, really relevant, tailored to their audience, lots of remarketing, lots of upper funnel traffic, lots of video. There was a whole funnel from top to bottom where we caught the attention at the top of the funnel, followed that customer all the way to brand search and also capturing people who are looking for that specific accommodation. And then it was just a case, when ticket sales were happening, managing those budgets. I actually worked on a Sunday because the ticket sales on a Sunday, and I was literally there working live because that was that one day they make a lot of their sales for the entire year. Yeah. So on standby. But yeah, it was just a case, Ramial, you've got an unlimited budget. Get us what you can. We just want to sell out. So I had everything nicely set up. We had done all of the initial work, so capturing all the sort of interest earlier on. And then, when the ticket sale period happened, it was just a case of, scaling those campaigns up and actually getting the most out of the work that we did over the months building up to it. Obviously, you see in the case study, we spent about 30K, got about 28K revenue, but then that's only a deposit. Actually translates to about 660K roughly. Nice. The client was super happy, and I think it's always good when you get these results, because now it's like I'm having those conversations with the clients now. Next year, how many more can you sell? How much more can we spend? Do you know what I mean? Can you get more space at the festival site? Because we sold out this year, and actually we could have spent a lot more. So it is super refreshing. But I think I'm going to go back to sort of like consolidation, doing all the foundations well, all the things we talk about, right? But I think in this case, building that funnel was really important. Doing demand gen many months before the actual ticket sales was important, because these individuals that go to these festivals and spend a lot of money, they usually plan to go. They know they're going to go. So I think building that interest really early on and getting their brand's name in the back of their head was really important. So when the day came for them to search, they actually probably already recognized that brand. So I think that was the key takeaway. And again, it's a case by case, because the other case study, we didn't do a lot of the upper funnel stuff. Whereas in this case, we spent a lot of money on video demand gen and then leveraged that when the interest was a lot higher.
Yeah. So this was since you had such a tight window of opportunity, there's the festival after that, it's done. So you have to sell
very tight window.
Yeah, tight window, and you have to generate demand up front, and then capitalize probably in the last week or so, I can imagine, right? Because people it's always like last minute decisions.
No, absolutely. And it's funny because in those last week, I was looking at search terms like religiously because we were spending so much in such a short space of time. I was looking at those search terms to see if anything was spending too much but not getting a sale. And because I kept on top of that, and it's so simple, right? Because I kept on top of that in that period, I was able to very quickly identify what wasn't working and filter it out. And had I not done that, okay, it probably would have still generated a lot of sales, but it would have been maybe a little bit less, 10% less, 20% less. And I absolutely love getting the most out of the budget. So I think that works quite well.
Yeah. It's another great case study, man, and different from the other one. Anything else that goes into this case study that's worth mentioning?
I think keeping things simple. Sometimes I load it accounts and there's 1,000 keywords and lots of ad copy and stuff, which is fine on a really big account, right? But when it's a small account, it's just one service. This account we only had about 10 keywords, but we still spent that much to still generate that many sales. Yeah. So I'd say that's a key takeaway, just keeping things simple, consolidated, not overcomplicated, and that works quite well. And you can do the foundations well and still complicate things, right? So I think in this case, it was doing the foundations well and keeping things simple.
Yeah, I love that, man. Okay, so moving on to the third one, which is a bit different now, since it's a B2B electronics retailer, so it's ecom. I think from the case back then, I don't know exactly, I think around 130K revenue with 7K spend, also like crazy ROAS there. What did you do for this? What's the background here, and what did you do?
So this is an electronics brand, B2B, that mainly sells bulk to organizations looking for different types of electronics. It might be cables or pen drives, USBs, or sometimes larger stuff, like kit, office equipment, etc. This was probably one of the most challenging ones because the website, I didn't like it. I don't like any site, do I? I didn't like the site. But they were really limited with what they could do with it because they were using an off-the-shelf solution. So it was really challenging. The budget wasn't huge, as you've seen, 7K over that period. So I was really limited and I had to be very, very strategic. So with this one, it was more about going outside of Google, looking at the unit economics, actually which products have you sold historically. From all your B2B contracts, what do you sell most of? What's your profit margins on X, Y, Z? What's actually working? What do your customers want? What are you getting repeat orders on? What are you getting returns on? Understanding all of the key things, right? And we understood a small amount of products that worked really well. Now, these products were like £3 or £4 each, but they would sell in huge volume. So they'd get orders of like 5K quantity, £3 or £4 each, all adds up, right? So yeah, I think with this one, it was more about going outside and actually understanding which products we need to focus on, because they've got thousands of products, a very small budget. I couldn't just advertise them all because it probably wouldn't generate those results. So we moved forward with the smallest of products. We had very simple standard shopping campaigns, target limited products. And then it was just a case of doing the foundations well, optimizing, getting all the exclusions right. And yeah, just running with it. And it started very bumpy. There wasn't much happening initially. I had to do all their tracking again, which again was a challenge because of their web platform. Managed to do server side in the end, which I felt was important because it got us that extra data. And with their really tight margins, I wanted every percentage of data I could get. So yeah, I'd say that's the key takeaway, going outside of the account on this one and really understanding the client's business and what's made them tick historically.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think you're in our chat right now, you're just saying the foundations, the stuff we talk about. I think it's so normal as second nature to you, but I think a lot of people still overcomplicate Google Ads. And you just mentioned just now as well, like keep it simple. But for you, the foundation of this account, what did that look like? So for example, let's start with the tracking. You mentioned you set up server-side tagging.
Correct.
But what else did you do to sort of lay that foundation?
So first and foremost, it was setting up the account, standard shopping with some branded search. Standard shopping was very simple, 10 products. We had all the exclusions in place. We didn't want to overcomplicate things. All the tracking was in place. We were targeting the UK, excluded every other location. Really, really simple. Stuff that you just expect to be done right. Kept everything consolidated. I didn't want to break it out. I didn't want to target thousands of products. Yeah, like they had products that were like 10K each, right? And I could have just targeted those and hoped for a sale, but I knew it wouldn't work. So yeah, it was really more than anything just filtering out all the waste and all the fluff in there, and just really, really almost having tunnel vision with this account and just keeping things really, really simple. And that's something I don't see enough of, because when I took over this account, again, it was another example of so many campaigns, so many like small amount of budgets just distributed in all different corners and different areas. And I just didn't like it. It went from so many campaigns to just one or two campaigns. And at first, clients are like, well, we were running all these campaigns before, now you're only running one or two. Like, what's going on? And I think a part of the success with this one was really educating the client and actually making him understand how we're going to do it, how we're going to set this account up for success so it can use automation to the best of its ability, but then also looking at the metrics outside of the business. Yeah,
and looking at the how to be strategic with your product targeting, which I think is a really smart one in this case, because as you said, like if you have thousands of products, which is definitely not uncommon for such a brand or retailer, I think the mistake that a lot of Google Ads specialists make is that they just have this product feed that the client provided to them, and they just say, okay, let's run it. And then you get
catch all.
Catch all. Yeah. And then you have hundreds of products that all get one click. And then, you have nothing works. And you ask yourself, like, why are we?
And then you don't get any data because it's all got one or two clicks. You don't actually know what's driving volume.
Yeah.
I think, we wanted to avoid that for sure.
Yeah. So you restricted it to the absolute core, and you check. So I guess you check backend data, and you notice that these are the pockets of products that have performed well in the past, and we just want to scale them.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, there's no scope for him to now look at other products. So now we know what works and we generate profit. And it is the process, right? We start off simple. Now we're starting to have those conversations like, okay, we've got your best sellers working. We've generated this money. Now we'll reinvest into your next product line. And if that works, we'll keep doing all your other products lines. And hopefully one day, they're advertising all 1,000 products and they're spending a lot of money. But I think we can't do that from the first month. It's a process and a whole roadmap that we have to follow. And I think that's probably something we don't see enough of, unfortunately. I'd say that's a key takeaway as well.
Yeah, that's super solid, man. So moving on, you have all kinds of different clients in different industries. How do you manage to drive results so consistently across so many different industries? What's your take on that? I think it's hard, man. If you have lead gen on the one hand, ecom, and then local, it's all a different game basically.
It is. And actually it goes back to my experience of the first agency I worked at. It's exactly what I did for 2 to 3 years early in my career. You know, I've told you before, I managed 100 clients at my first agency.
That's crazy.
100 clients, you know, one hour a month. We just do what we, I know. But they were small budgets, right? They were all small businesses, a bit like sort of like Hertz also works with similar sort of clients, that sort of stuff. And that, I think, made me really strong, because I'd go into work every day and I'd be 1 minute working with a doctor, and then a lawyer, and then an accountant, and then a small e-com store, and then a trader, a builder, and so on, you know? And I think that's so early in my career. It not only made me a stronger Google specialist, but a better business person, because I spoke to so many different business people at different walks of life, different sort of revenues. And that shaped my ability to do it today. So I think key takeaway really is just understanding the business and asking the right questions. Because there's still businesses today that I don't know about or I haven't worked with, but I think it's genuinely about asking those right questions and understanding that client, understanding their pain points, what makes their business tick. And I think that, again, goes to going outside of the account, building that relationship with the business owner. And I think if you can do that, you'll understand that business and you'll know just as well as the business owner how to strategize their marketing. And I think in terms of time, it's just a case of how everything's set up. So you know me, I love the fundamentals. I love keeping things simple. Some of these smaller businesses, 1 to 2K, I don't need hundreds of keywords where you know, my optimizations are a lot more to do. Keep things simple. It drives results. We have more meaningful conversations, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. All right, so I think you shared a lot of great insights. What I want to do now, Ramial, is transition into a few rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You can just answer fast or give a little bit more context if you want to. And the first question is, do you think Google is going to remove keyword match types in 2025?
Not in 2025. I think it'll take a little bit longer. However, looking at the direction we're going in, first PMax, now Search Max is on the horizon. Search themes are starting to come into play, and then audience targeting is more than ever. I do think we'll transition towards that, but not in 2025. I think it'll take longer.
Yeah. What's your favorite PPC tool at the moment?
Ooh.
Or one
That's
of
a good
favorites?
one. That's a good one. You put me on the spot there. You see, I just love staying in Google Ads, right? I don't use too many tools for different things, because I just feel like it overcomplicates things. Like I love the basics. I have ads, I have GTM, I use Merchant Center, I use all the Google products. I use ChatGPT to help me sometimes strategize or whatever. I use Triple Whale sometimes for attribution, but I try not to set up tons and tons and tons of tools because I don't end up using them, and they'll just be there ticking over. I quite like Linear though, because I think it gives you a nice central place to look at everything. And they do have pretty cool automation features as well. And it's free.
Yeah.
That's at a certain level. So
to a certain extent, yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool. Okay, what's the best Google Ads advice that you've ever gotten? Best Google Ads advice. I think probably since I joined the PPC Hub, a lot of the stuff that you and Bob and some of the people around like Hertz and whatnot, focusing on the fundamentals, keeping things simple, going outside of the Google Ads accounts, all the stuff on unit economics. I'd say all these kind of things are what the difference from a really good specialist to a really, really good specialist. So I think all of that stuff, if I had to go back 3 years, I'll be honest, I probably wasn't adapting a lot of these things just because I was so early in my career. So I think, since joining the hub and actually being around so many people and digesting all of that advice consistently, and it was not just once, it was
all the time. I'd say that's become second nature now.
Nice. Yeah. And I definitely see that in you, how you have developed yourself in the last couple of months, last year. It's awesome to see that what happens when you really go back to the fundamentals, and then combining that when you build that foundation with the fundamentals, and then looking outside of Google Ads. I think that combination is truly what's going to give Google Ads specialists the edge that you now also have with your clients. And it's also the best way to future-proof yourself, because with all the AI and automation, etc., that is happening now, in 1 or 2 years, we don't know what the industry looks like and how much we can actually still do inside of Google Ads.
Correct.
But this way,
and I think the T-shape as well is really cool as well, because more and more I'm seeing ad specialists start to adapt other skills, whether it's CRO or it's SEO or social. They are trying to go outside of PPC, Google, and learn those other skills, which I think is super important.
Yeah, and it's fun. You can sort of cherry pick what you want. As you said, you're in your background, you have the web development side of things, which is now helping you with the landing pages and CRO. I know some people who don't really like that, but they like more the creative side, so they can focus more on the content, which is awesome. Okay, last question here for the rapid fire ones is, do you think Google will lose more search market share in the upcoming months and years? As they have, I don't know if you've seen the recent news. Google's losing market share. Yeah, it's dropping. Do you think they will lose more in the near future?
I think in the near future they will start to lose more, but knowing Google, I do believe they will find a way to mitigate that. More and more people are using GPT tools to search, and actually me as well. I don't use Google that often anymore, as crazy as it sounds, just because I get better results from GPT tools. I'll give you an example. Recently, I was looking for a car and I had questions about the car. I wanted to do comparisons. I had 3 different cars I was looking at, and I did comparisons, and going on Google just didn't give me the insights I wanted. So I went on GPT, and the results were just incredible.
Crazy.
Incredible. So I do think they'll still continue to lose market share, but I think they will mitigate that eventually with their own products and their own tools.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll figure it out. I mean,
they always do.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest challenge for them, and they'll figure it out. Yeah,
they will. Well, look how quickly they released, is it Gemini? As soon as ChatGPT came out, Gemini was a month later or whatever. And although ChatGPT is probably more popular, I do think Google's products in the automation and AI space will continue to grow and get that market share.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's an interesting one because you mentioned that you were researching a car. I was researching a new camera for my home studio, and I was also looking on Google. But then the first couple of results, it's all like affiliate links and biased answers and sponsored posts. And then you just go ChatGPT and you ask like, oh, what is this lens? Oh, how does that work? How does that compare in my office space that is relatively small? And then you get such a better unbiased advice. It's it's great.
See, on Google, I was getting generic answers like, this car's, it's got these features and this and that. Whereas ChatGPT was like, oh, this feature has got this advancement in it, and the speed can go to this, or you've got this in the engine, and these engines are whatever. It was just so detailed.
All right, I have one final question for you, and that is if you can give a PPC expert one tip that could improve their careers, what would that be?
I think touching on going outside of Google, but really going outside of the industry. So a lot of PPC freelancers and specialists like me, they're great at their jobs, right? They're great in the accounts, they're great at doing all things marketing, they're very good T-shape specialists. But a lot of them do miss out on the wider things. See, when you're running a business, it's not just what I'm doing for my clients or what I'm learning or the skills I'm learning. Running a business has other responsibilities like processes, accounting, tax, etc. And a lot of specialists like me actually, exceptional at their jobs. But if you go really outside of that, the processes on to make your business tick better, or embracing the automation, or simple things like accounting and taxes, I would genuinely advise people to get a grip of that, because you will get more revenue if you put those right processes in place, whether it's automation or not. And in terms of accounting and taxes, I mean, yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. So I think, just looking really outside of the accounts and outside of the whole job as a whole, and focusing on what actually makes that business tick and grow and improve. And that's something I really, really focus on. And actually, where else can I take my skills? So there's a lot of people like doing side projects. So as entrepreneurs, right, we always like looking at different areas, not without spreading ourselves too thin, but I think genuinely our skills can go very far. Yeah. It's not just the case of having clients. I've seen people who have built their own businesses like that, like not agencies per se, but like an online store, for instance, because they're genuinely so good at the job. So I think, looking outside of that and seeing what else you can do to boost your career, boost your life as a whole.
Love it, man. Absolutely amazing. Cool. So where can people connect with you, Ramial? LinkedIn?
LinkedIn's probably the best place, or if you're in the PPC Hub, you can find me there as well.
Yeah, awesome. So thanks for coming on, dude. It's been awesome talking to you. Some great insights, great case studies, and thanks for always sharing so selflessly, also in the PPC Hub, but also on LinkedIn. And
no problem.
For everyone who's listened, thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode. And we'll be back next week with more insights from other Google Ads specialists. So thank you for watching, viewing. Don't forget to subscribe, all this stuff, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace. All right, that's the end of this episode of the PPC Mastery Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you don't want to miss any future episodes, we're going to be back next week. Then don't forget to subscribe and share with a friend, family member, or a colleague, because that's the only way we can grow this show. Now, there's 2 more things I want to share with you if you want to take your Google Ads game to the next level. The first one is, if you want to get advanced Google Ads tips delivered straight into your inbox on Mondays and Fridays, head over to ppcmastery.com/newsletter to subscribe to our newsletter called the PPC Edge. And next to that, if you want to really take your skills to the next level and become the best Google Ads specialist you can possibly be, then consider joining the PPC Hub, which is our coaching and community platform for experienced Google Ads specialists. You can find everything about it on ppcmastery.com/hub. And with that said, I'll catch you in next week's episode. Peace.